right, it's that time again. Welcome to another discussion about a movie. Yes, I'm wearing my wife's sunglasses. So what? I can't find my blue ones, so this is it. I watched The Flash the other day. Pleasantly surprised. I assumed wrongly that this would be another sad attempt to make the DC universe like the Marvel one, but continue to be too serious and have no direction. Well, that last part might be true about the direction, but the film as a whole, I'm going to shock some people with this. One of the best superhero movies in a very long time. Now, my barometer for that tends to be Dark Knight, up at the tippy top, everybody else down at the bottom, or fighting for those middle places. But this movie is up there. It's on par with the Spider-Man franchise with Tobey Maguire, minus the third one, who was, that third movie was clearly Sam Raimi checking out. But I digress. This movie, I'm going to start with, some good, bad, and ugly. 10 years too late. This movie came out much too late. They've been working on the Flash concept for a decade, and it shows. Like, this movie was really good, but I think there's a lot of superhero fatigue in general, and audiences are not flocking to the theaters anymore. Some of that has to do with COVID. Some of that has to do with previous DC movies. Black Adam flopped. Shazam, Fury of the Gods flopped. So, these movies, The Suicide Squad, it was a pretty good movie. I think it made its money back, but for all intents and purposes, it flopped. It's been a long time since the DC universe has had a good, profitable movie. Wonder Woman 2, below projections. The first Suicide Squad, below projections. Birds of Prey, absolute disgrace of a movie. The last good DC movie, I would argue, was Aquaman. And it made $1 billion, so people agree with me. There was, the debacle with the Justice League. The Zack Snyder Justice League is divisive, but it's the better version of the two. I don't think anybody can argue that. You might not like Zack Snyder, but you can't argue that his version of the Justice League is much closer to what a superhero fan would want, as opposed to Whedon's take on it. It felt really awful. But to get away from all that, The Flash suffers from all these things. Superhero fatigue. People don't rush to the theaters anymore. On top of that, though, you've got one of the most controversial actors in Hollywood, in Ezra Miller. And they purposefully kept him out of the marketing, like, the whole time. He showed up at the premiere, but that was legitimately like the only time we saw Ezra Miller. And with good reason. The dude is a scumbag. Absolute scumbag. Just grooming children, all kinds of different offenses. And people don't like that kind of stuff. It's icky. It's not the same as, like the actors that get the DUIs and there's certain things that actors do that get them ostracized. But when you get into child grooming, that's sticky territory for you. So all that to say, The Flash really is tanking at the box office, but I think it's kind of unjustified. I don't think the movie itself is a flop. And there are a lot of reasons why. First of all, they had to retool what this movie was. Originally, when they were pitching The Flash, they were talking about it being like a buddy cop film with Cyborg, another member of the Justice League. Well, That didn't work. Cyborg, the actor Ray Fisher, not a huge fan of DC anymore. So that one's not going to happen. So they had to retool that. Now, because it got pushed back so far, this movie has become a vehicle to reboot the DC universe, which I think it desperately needed. I am sad to see Henry Cavill go. I'm sad to see Gal Gadot probably go. But I think overall they're gonna benefit from rebooting that. Some spoilers coming as I talk about this movie. This is the best superhero movie since Man of Steel. Now, a lot of you probably don't think Man of Steel is a great movie. You can turn the video off right now and just go somewhere else. Man of Steel is an incredible movie. For its time, the CGI was far and away the best that you've seen in a superhero movie. The action sequences were phenomenal. Henry Cavill is a great actor no matter what role he has. The story was Clark Kent and discovering how to be Superman. It was a great film. You might not have liked the way it ended. You might not have understood the way it ended. But in the grand scheme of what Zack Snyder was trying to do, he developed a Superman who had to become the beacon of light that we know him to be. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. But Man of Steel was incredible. This movie is on par with Man of Steel. And I'm looking through the list of DC movies that are in this universe. Aquaman's up there, but it's not better than this Flash movie. I think this Flash movie is the second best movie in the DCEU, in front of Aquaman and behind only Man of Steel. That's my take. The problems I have a lot of problems with the movie, but I mean that's kind of what I do anyway. I look at all aspects of it, negative, positive. And here's where spoilers come in. Supergirl should beat Zod. I'm sorry. Supergirl is as powerful as Kal-El, and there's no reason that she should not have taken out Zod in the way that Superman did. Not only that, she's got the help of 2 Flashes and Michael Keaton's Batman. Put that all together, there's no way that General Zod and his group beats Supergirl. You can make the argument that there were other Kryptonians that were fighting alongside Zod. Okay, fine, but they had nothing to do with the fact that Zod single-handedly ended Supergirl multiple times in the timeline by himself. So, not a huge fan of the way they did that. They did Supergirl wrong in this movie. A good villain, too. And Zod was not the villain of this film. Zod was the side piece villain to get to a plot point. The villain of the movie is Dark Flash. And we didn't get to see much of Dark Flash at all. Dark Flash was a quick twist reveal at the end of this movie. And that was it. It was not a true, I don't think it was a true villain in the sense that you built a developed character and you understood that villain's motivations to the point that it was a good battle. Now, we know that it was the young Barry that ends up becoming old, but it was a blink and you miss it explanation of like how he became that version of Flash. It was, and I had to kind of think about it as I was watching it too, and I'm a diehard comic book fan. So I can't imagine the average everyday moviegoer understood exactly what happened in that third act. But all that to say, the villain was fantastic. It was just too quick. The solutions, it felt like Andy Muschietti like really wanted to end that movie and not have the runtime be too out of hand. But I'm hoping to see like, I don't know about a director's cut, but like extended scenes or more deleted scenes of that Dark Flash, because that was one of the more interesting aspects of the movie. moving on though, that action sequence with the Flash, anything that had the Flash running, that is the best interpretation of the Flash's powers that we've seen to date. That was fantastic. We've had like 8 or 9 seasons of the Flash on the CW. Great show. They lost me after season like 5 though. It started to kind of feel redundant, and his story was not that impactful for me personally. But Grant Gustin should have made an appearance in this movie. It was a tragedy that he did not. I will say that. Of all the multiverse appearances we see, and I'm not going to spoil them all, but there were some good cameos in this movie that were all done with CGI. And I think that's too bad, because not only was the CGI tragic in this movie, I feel like it was, not a good use of $200 million, because that's how much they spent on the production of this movie. The CGI parts where it's clearly the multiverse or the Speed Force, you can make an artistic, like, quote for that movie. You could say, like, artistically, they made the CGI almost cartoony when he's in the Speed Force. Okay, I can kind of get there. But when you bring in these cameos, it really cheapens the actors and actresses that they brought in. It cheapens their memory when you use really bad CGI. But that's kind of, in the overall arc of the movie, that's kind of a petty complaint. I thought the movie itself was absolutely fantastic. A lot of fan service. They did a lot of good things with it. The action style, it reminded me a lot of like Matthew Vaughn's style of action, like the Kick-Ass or the Kingsman kind of style, where they went from one thing to the next, and the action was flawless. I loved it. It was great. Really didn't get a lot of clarity for the future of the DC universe. It kind of just, it opened up the multiverse. The Flash character is kind of screwed. He's messed up the timeline. There was one more cameo at the end that kind of confirmed that he really messed up the timeline. I'm not going to give that away. But we really don't have clarity for where Barry Allen is now, which I guess paves the way later for the next director to say, we're going to recast the Flash and move in a different direction. I actually applaud that move. Ezra Miller needs to be done as an actor. He needs to go away. He needs to get some help. The dude has a lot of mental things going on that he needs help with. And I hope that someday he can have himself a Robert Downey Jr. moment and become a better citizen of the world, because he's got some demented, like, disturbing stuff going on in his life that needs to get corrected. Aquaman. I am spoiling the end credits teaser. So Aquaman shows up. We confirm that Aquaman looks the same in every universe for whatever reason. For plot purposes, Aquaman looks the same. We're going to use Jason Momoa in James Gunn's new rebooted DC universe. So that's fantastic. I kind of was hoping for Lobo a little bit. There were talks he would play Lobo, but I don't mind him continuing on as Aquaman. I think he's a fantastic Aquaman. And the last thing I'll say about this movie, Michael Keaton still has it, man. The dude has the best acting chops from a former comedian that I've ever seen. And a lot of people don't even know Michael Keaton used to be a comedian. He used to do funny movies. The dude's funny. If you've seen the other guys, if you've seen some of the offbeat movies he's done, Beetlejuice, dude is a funny guy. And I thought he killed it in this movie. He was absolutely fantastic. The way they brought back Michael Keaton. So overall, man, this movie gets an A from me. It was absolutely fantastic. I appreciate being able to talk on my drive home, because I'm already almost home. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. And this was a long one, but you know what? I hope you enjoyed it. Movies and Chill with Zach and Dill. We got more to come. We're going to talk about Robin Williams in our next episode. So we'll see you then.